Okay, so sorry for the technical troubles. I think we may start. Once again, thank you for coming this morning, and let me introduce myself. My name is Alexei Vladishev. I'm a founder and CEO of Zabbix. I've been working on Zabbix for about 20 years now. So today we'll talk, today my talk consists of two major topics. One, I will remind you what are the new features of Zabbix 4.2. This is our current major release. And we'll talk a little bit about the future, maybe new upcoming features of Zabbix 4.4. So, but first, let me remind you what is Zabbix. Zabbix is universal, open source, enterprise level monitoring solution. So basically, I think this word universal means very much. First of all, yes, we are building open source and free software. As you probably know, Zabbix is fully open source, it's fully free. We don't have any proprietary releases of Zabbix. We don't follow open core model, nothing like that. We really want to have a pure open source software which is available to everyone in the world, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how big is your company, you have budget or not, you can use Zabbix. And universal is a really important aspect here because, again, Zabbix is we are trying to build a platform which can be applied to many different use cases. It's not only about performance monitoring. It's not only about maybe some visualization or alerting or anomaly detection, trend prediction, whatever. We want to build a single one product which really solves most of the challenges of a modern IT department or modern, Zabbix is not specifically focused on IT infrastructure monitoring, for example. You can use it for many other different purposes. So, where we are at this moment? At this moment, we have basically three versions which are officially supported. This is 3.0 LTS, 4.0 LTS, and 4.2. So LTS means long-term support. So it means they are supported for 5 years. Okay, and 4.2, this is a current major release. It comes with a limited support. It will be supported till release of next version plus 1 month. Yeah, and currently we are working on Zabbix 4.4. I will talk about Zabbix 4.4 later on today. Just some quick facts about 4.2. Yes, it's non-LTS. It consists about 60% of all planned functionality because we had a publicly available roadmap for Zabbix 4.2, and we managed to implement around 60% of what we planned. Not everything was implemented yet. It's already used in production by many companies, and at this moment Zabbix 4.2.1 is available, which comes with a number of bug fixes. So if you want to migrate to Zabbix 4.2, I would strongly encourage you to use 4.2.1. So this is the Zabbix team, and this is kind of a traditional photo we make after each major release. So we have a traditional cookies and some sweet stuff, and also this is part of our team. At this moment, we have about 75 people working on Zabbix. Engineers, support engineers, developers, QA staff, quality assurance, some marketing and sales guys. So we have 4 offices right now, basically in 4 different locations. It is in Riga in Latvia, very close, just like 1 hour flight from Warsaw to Riga. This is where we have a headquarters with all developers. We also have office in Tokyo and in New York, and also just recently opened office in Moscow. So I have to say that Zabbix 4.2 was released in time. Yeah, this is the first time in 20 years of Zabbix when we said, okay, it is going to be released this date, and we delivered it. Yeah, so I'm very happy about it. So now we think that the delivery dates are really important. We have our release cycle, one major release every 6 months, and I'm doing all my best to stick to our release cycle. We really want to deliver one major release every 6 months. Let's talk about Zabbix 4.2. Let's start with some minor improvements. Support of new platforms. At this moment, we support Raspbian, officially support. We have official agent for Mac operating system, macOS. We have a Docker builds. We support OpenSUSE. We support a Windows agent. We provide MSI packages for Windows agents right now for much faster deployment and for automation of Windows agent deployment. So MSI images are already supported for Zabbix agent. And Docker, yes, I already mentioned Docker. One feature is about a very minor feature. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't work on this screen. Yeah, I cannot display it clearly, but it's about ability to show the latest value in the list of problems. Yeah, so we have a special column, latest values. It's from my test system. That's why you see unknowns here, but you can see it here. This functionality will be extended. Yeah, it will be extended to contain much more detailed information, not necessarily latest values, but with the support of various macros. Yeah, so yeah, that is something that will be extended very much. Another small but nice feature is about testing media types. Quite often we made some integration of Zabbix with third-party systems like, I don't know, ServiceNow, PagerDuty, maybe Jira, whatever, and we want to verify if this integration works or not, yeah? So now we implemented just a quick way to test it. You press a button test, you just enter some test message, you fill those fields, press button test, and then you can see if everything works fine. If email works fine, or maybe some integration of Zabbix with some other system works fine. This is just small, nice usability feature. Another nice feature is alerts in HTML format. So finally, we support also email messages in HTML format. So no plain text, but also support of HTML. Yeah, so when you configure media type email, so you may select a message format HTML, and this time we will get, and this way we'll get much more readable information. For example, we may include some rich text, HTML. If we know how to use this, we know how to use CSS. We can be much more creative. We may also add some things like buttons if we know. If we have a little bit more technical knowledge, it's also possible to include the graphs which are generated by Zabbix itself, but it's a little bit more tricky. So, and this is just how it may look like. So, for example, service Redis is not responding. I can see it in red color, for example. I have some bold, like customer name, server ID, IP, region, some tags, and there are some links which are going to Zabbix dashboard, or I can just click here and go to the acknowledgement page in Zabbix. So very, very nice. It really streamlines communication of users with Zabbix. Date and time in graph widgets, very small but nice feature is about displaying of this part. Okay, we just mouse over on some region in the graph, and Zabbix will tell you. Okay, first of all, it will tell you what are the metric values, but it also tells you exact timestamp. Support of new macros and map labels in the graphs. So now we support a new set of different macros. For example, host IP, also some other macros. And you may ask why would we need it? And actually, it's needed to add some additional manual actions. For example, like in this case, if I want to reboot a server and I have URL which is capable of rebooting this specific server, maybe it works through SSH, or it just delivers some IPMI commands straight to the server. So it may work like this way. For example, like I have a map, And I created a number of URLs. One is just open a Jira ticket. So I have some problem. Okay, I can immediately go to Jira and open a new ticket there. Or I can reboot a server. Or I may go straight to the web server which is running on this machine. So it's fully customizable. Yeah, so that might be very, very nice addition. What else? Small feature, it's just advanced filter in configuration triggers. If you use Zabbix, you know, in other configuration of triggers, we didn't have any filter, any nice filter. But now it's very comprehensive, and it really gives you different types of filtering options. So you may select filter by different attributes. Mass update for item prototypes. Another small but nice feature is about making mass updates not for items. It's been supported for a long time, but also for item prototypes. So if you want to disable those or enable, or maybe make some modifications, switch from maybe some scheduling parameters or some options, or you can do it using mass update. So you basically select item prototypes, then click mass update, and you do any modifications you want. More flexible auto-registration. So let me remind you what is auto-registration. How many of you use auto-registration or auto-discovery? Auto-registration, auto-discovery. Okay, so quite a few. So auto-registration is about ability to register a new host for monitoring. Suppose you have a new host deployed in the cloud or maybe somewhere on the premises. You have Zabbix agent running on this host. And as soon as you start up this host, Zabbix agent connects to the server, and server understands, okay, I have a new agent for monitoring, and it will start monitoring of this host immediately, automatically, so you don't have to do anything manually. And now it becomes more flexible. So for example, if I have a number of database servers, like MySQL 01, MySQL 02, and some other, maybe some Oracle, or DB01, DB2, DB03. And I want to register only MySQL hosts. So what I do, I create just a condition where the host name matches a regular expression. So if a host name contains MySQL, this string, okay, I understand that this is a MySQL host and I want to register it automatically. So in this case, only 2 hosts out of 5 hosts out of 3 hosts will be discovered. So we may have a different auto-registration rules. So in this case, Zabbix will discover MySQL servers. It will link it to a relevant templates. It will start monitoring of those MySQL servers automatically. So that's how it works. The next is automatic discovery of host names. This is about discovery. So suppose we have a discovery rule, which is based on availability of Zabbix agent. So Zabbix scans your network. It scans your network. It tries to find Zabbix agents. It tries to retrieve system uname, basically the host name. And now Zabbix may use this host name to name a newly discovered device. So it will take host name. You see, you have option. Host name can be assigned to DNS name, to IP address, or to received value, the system use name, and also the visible name of device which we discovered. Host name, DNS name, IP address, or a value we received from Zabbix agent. It's also useful for SNMP monitoring when we have sys description, yeah, sysdesker field, so we can name our host automatically. Host and template tags, another very nice feature. It's about making tags easier to use and easier to maintain. So now we support tags on a template level, okay? Before we supported tags only on trigger level. Trigger creates a problem, and problem would use a tags from a trigger. Now you may define triggers on a template level, like here. This is my template operating system Linux, and I have a tag. Operating system is equal to Linux. Just very simple example, just for simplicity's sake. Yeah, and also operating system Linux. Also host tag. On a host level, we may define some different triggers, like a service. This is an Oracle cluster on host AWS and 30, and region. This is US East 1. Okay, and we have triggers on we have tags on a template level. We have tags on a host level. In the list of hosts, we would see those region and service Oracle cluster, and then when a problem is generated, Zabbix will get all tags from templates and from a host level and also from a trigger level. So it will combine all tags, which is really, really nice. So we don't have to deal with tags on a level of triggers, which is very time consuming. It's not so easy to manage. But now we can manage triggers on templates, nice, and also on host level, which is also very, very cool. Another nice feature, maybe you read about it in our blog post, is the support of timescaleDB. So let me explain what is timescaleDB, but first let me remind you what kind of storage options we have in Zabbix right now. So in Zabbix, Zabbix supports now basically 4 storage engines: MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, and DB2. I think that most of us using MySQL or Postgres. By the way, how many of you use MySQL with Zabbix? Postgres? Okay, Oracle? All right, the rest is probably DB2. No, I don't believe it. Yeah, but yeah, so maybe 50% MySQL, like 48 or 45% MySQL, 45% Postgres. Maybe some of us use Oracle, and not so many use DB2. But we have customers and running Zabbix with DB2 backend. Another option with Zabbix, we may keep historical data in Elasticsearch. So all configuration is stored in a relational database, traditional relational database, but we may also keep a history in Elasticsearch. Normally it's done for, Elastic is really nice for integration purposes. If you want to integrate monitoring data with some business intelligence tools, for example, or you want to see some different aggregations of data, so Elastic is very nice for that. So we may have this option to keep history in Elasticsearch. And now Zabbix also supports timescaleDB. So what is timescaleDB? TimescaleDB is basically a Postgres plus timescaleDB extension. So you take a normal Postgres and you install timescaleDB extension, and you get a timescaleDB. Okay, so this is kind of Postgres on steroids, so better Postgres. Okay, and there are a number of advantages of timescaleDB. One of the advantages is that it is performance-oriented database. Okay, it tries to make table partitioning automatically in a smart fashion. We don't have to care about partitioning of tables. Yeah, timescaleDB does it for you. Also, timescaleDB makes sure that the data, kind of hot data, is always kept in memory. Yeah, this way you get much better performance. So automatic partitioning, it's performance-oriented database. And also, if you use a timescaleDB, then Zabbix will manage removal of older data for you. You don't have to use any cron jobs to remove older partitions, for example, if you use Postgres with partitioning or MySQL with partitioning. So Zabbix removes data, and it does remove it automatically from a timescaleDB. No cron tab jobs anymore. And in order to install timescaleDB, just follow a very simple document from a timescale.com. There is a getting started guide. It's just a few steps guide. One is you install Postgres, then you enable timescaleDB extension using this simple command, like create extension something something. Okay, you enable timescaleDB extension, and then you just execute a small SQL patch which comes with Zabbix distribution. And you install Zabbix with the Postgres support. Okay, you install Zabbix with the Postgres support, yeah, and then it will work absolutely fine. So Zabbix detects that it's not really Postgres, but it has also timescaleDB extension. Yes. I think it supports 2 latest major releases. Yeah. Actually, the timescaleDB is a quite new project. I think the first version of timescaleDB came out October or November last year. So it is quite new, so be careful, yeah? But we made quite extensive testing, and we have a blog post on blog.zabbix.com, and we compared performance of Postgres with table partitioning, and also we compared it with the timescaleDB. And as you can see, so this is like this is Postgres, this is timescaleDB, and we tried to feed about, I think, 300 million of data points. Yeah, 300 million of data points. And as you can see, initially Postgres has some better performance just for a short period of time, but then performance drops. Yeah, you can see this declining trend. Yeah, it's slower, and I'm not sure how it will behave later on. Probably there will be even more noticeable slowness. But if we take a timescaleDB, yes, initial performance maybe is not that good, but as you can see, it delivers a very stable performance. Okay, and maybe its average is about 130,000 values per second, which Zabbix pushes to timescaleDB. Comparing to Postgres, Postgres is about average maybe 80,000 of values per second. So it's about 50%, 50, 60, 70% improvements over traditional Postgres database, which is really quite nice. Again, be careful, because timescaleDB is not fully open source. It follows open core model. All these features comes for free in open source edition of the timescaleDB, but if they also provide additional features related to clustering and high availability, I believe, and it comes at price. Okay, so it's not fully open source. What's next? A few minor releases, few minor features, is a content matching for headers in a web, for web monitoring. Now you may specify what this is a web monitoring when you create the web scenarios. Step number 1, user logging. Step number 2, do something. Step number 3, log out, something like that. So you create a web scenario monitoring in Zabbix. And sometimes we want to get, for example, like in this case, authentication token. Yeah, but authentication token, it comes with an HTTP header which we receive. And now you have an option: retrieve mode, give me only headers. Don't give me HTML or the body. Give me headers, and then we may extract authentication ID or some security token from the header, and then reuse it for the following steps. Yeah, so that's quite nice, small but nice feature. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. You retrieve mode set to headers. You specify some variable like a token. You use a regular expression to extract this token, and then this token can be used for the following steps. Yeah, it might be a nice feature, for example, for some API, basic API monitoring. Yeah, you get the authentication tokens, then reuse it for the next steps. Small feature, but quite nice for visualization. It is support of animated GIFs. Unfortunately, I cannot embed some video here, yeah. So, but it will basically, instead of normal static image, you can put an animated GIF. And if you have some problem, so it may jump or do something funny, so you can see immediately. Okay, we have a problem here, maybe here and here. Yeah, so it's really something very small, but very, very useful. There are so many people asking for me, okay, please implement it, please implement it. Okay, finally we did it. Remote monitoring of internal metrics. This is especially useful if you have multiple Zabbix servers deployed. For example, you monitor your customers, and you have Zabbix server deployed for one customer, another customer, another customer, another customer. Or you have multiple proxies running everywhere. So now it's possible to monitor health of Zabbix servers and Zabbix proxies remotely. Okay? You have, like, for example, 4 Zabbix servers, and then you may have a central Zabbix server which will feed statistics directly from those machines, from Zabbix servers and from Zabbix proxies. This is a very reliable way to monitor if server is available or not. Yeah? It's kind of external, internal check. Yeah? So Zabbix would connect directly through Zabbix agent to Zabbix server and get internal statistics from this Zabbix server. And then you can use it. Then you can use it for everything, for visualization purposes, to see how fast your servers works, or maybe for for alerting, obviously, as well. Advanced preprocessing. This is a very, very important topic. And I think if you considering, shall I migrate to Zabbix 4.2 or not, that might be the reason why you should consider it very, very seriously. Advanced preprocessing. So what does it mean? You know that any data which is received by Zabbix can be transformed using different rules. Like you may do some transformation based on regular expressions, or do some simple things like trimming. You may use JSON pass or XML pass if you're working with the JSON or XML data. And there are some other things like hex to decimal and so on. But now we have a number of rules for validation. And sometimes it's really important. Yeah? For example, if I have a temperature sensor, or some sensor, and I know that temperature sensor, it gives me values from 0 to 100 centigrades, and I don't want to accept anything else. Okay? So now you can do it. So we supported validation in range. Some value is in one range from 0 to 100, for example. Value matches a regular expression. It does not match some regular expression. And also we may extract errors straight from JSON or XML, which is really nice. If you are communicating with AWS API, for example, and something fails, it returns us some error message in a JSON. We do REST API call, we get error message back in one of JSON fields, and Zabbix can check if there is a error message, and it will retrieve this error message. And we may also check for errors using regular expressions. So basically, that's the validation options. And another improvement we made a custom error processing, which is extremely useful feature. So what does it mean? It means that in a list of preprocessing steps, now we have custom on fail checkbox. If it's not checked, it means we use a default error. So preprocessing step in range from 0 to 100, okay? And if it's not in range, there will be an error message, and item goes to not supported state, basically. But we have another options, is discard value, custom error processing, discard invalid value. It means that if we received invalid value, it will be discarded. So it will not be processed, just dropped by Zabbix. Okay? Sometimes we may want to set default value. If temperature is out of range, okay, it's maybe -5 centigrades, it's out of range, we will set it to 0. We will set it to a default value. Yeah? Sometimes it might be very, very useful. And we may also set some custom error messages, like if temperature is out of range, there is a custom error message like temperature must be in range of 100 degrees, or maybe you have some hardware failure of your sensor, you can put any string you want. Very, very nice. Throttling, it's another super nice functionality. What is throttling? Throttling is about skipping repeating values. Okay? If you check state of your application and it always returns 1, okay, it runs. So it means that you will receive, well, basically 1 all the time. Every minute or every 10 seconds, 1, and it will be kept in your database. It will be processed by Zabbix. It just takes tons of resources, yeah? But now we may use option discard unchanged. If value is the same, Zabbix will drop this value. It will not be stored everywhere. It will be just ignored by Zabbix. But it has a number of disadvantages. For example, if we drop repeating values, we don't know if monitoring works, because we don't receive any values. This is one disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that graphs will be empty. We want to see a graph, and there is no data, because we dropped all the values. And that's why we introduced another option, which is called discard unchanged with a heartbeat. And the heartbeat is given in seconds. Let me just explain how it works. So this is a timeline. This is the status of my application. 0, it's down, it's up, it's down, up, down, for example. If you use discard unchanged, Zabbix will drop these zeros. 0, okay, but 0, it's the same as the previous one. It will be dropped, but then 1, 0, 1, 0. Yeah? So, as you can see, it works fine. But there will be some empty spaces and graphs here and here, yeah? So with the heartbeat 30 seconds, it means that Zabbix will need to retrieve a value, at least one value per 30 seconds, okay? It will keep it. 0, 1, then, as you can see, after 30 seconds, okay, it's maybe, 35, and then next 40 seconds, it will store this value. Okay, so every 30 seconds there will be at least one value. So 0 here and another 0 here. So you could see nice graphs, and you can use no data function, for example, in triggers to verify that data is coming, which is nice. And this is a typical use cases. I think this use case is very, very important. Now we can monitor availability of applications, services, devices much more frequently, like once per second. Why not? Yeah, every second we check if something is maybe highly critical is available or not. Yeah, but we don't want to keep all these zeros and ones or twos or any values. It will be just ignored. But as soon as the value is changed, the status of your application changes, Zabbix will immediately alert you. 1 second and just after 1 second, you receive alert that, okay, we've got a problem, which is very, very nice. Monitoring of discrete values like statuses and states, 1, 0, it's perfect for this. Now it can be nicely graphed with the heartbeats. So we use the heartbeats and we receive a new, graphs. And we can use also subsampling for dependent items. For example, we collect data for master item every 10 seconds, but for dependent items, maybe once per 1 minute. Sometimes we may want to use it as well. Support of custom JSON for low-level discovery. So low-level discovery is about discovery of some, I don't know, processes, network interfaces, file systems, services, whatever. So Zabbix receives a JSON, and then it creates items and triggers out of received JSON. And before Zabbix 4.2, you have to create a JSON in a special format. But now you can use any JSON. Just push any JSON to Zabbix, anything. I don't know, in any format. And which obviously, it should contain some array of data, array of objects. And Zabbix will create maybe some hosts based on host prototypes, items and triggers based on the data. Yeah, so in discovery rules, now we also support those preprocessing steps. Yeah, so for discovery, we may convert from CSV to JSON or XML to JSON conversion, well, basically everything. Yeah. Then we define just the macros, like a name and the size of a file system, like in my case. So it should be a hashtag, not a $sign, a hashtag. And then we use, in item prototypes, we use those macros. Free disk space on this file system. Okay? So any JSON can be used for low-level discovery. And because we use preprocessing for low-level discovery, we can push any text or XML or any data. Preprocessing will convert it to JSON, and then JSON can be used for low-level discovery. So any data can be used for low-level discovery now. And if it's not enough, we support JavaScript. Okay, so now you can use a JavaScript for any type of preprocessing. Really, the sky is the limit. For example, to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, just use a simple formula. Return, this is a value, this is original value, and Zabbix will calculate it using JavaScript and return your value back. Okay? You may use much more complex preprocessing. For example, this is a script that parses output of Apache status. Apache status, it comes in a text, it's text, which is not so easy to work with. And using this script, it's a little bit longer. It converts it to JSON, and this JSON can be used for metrics and also for low-level discovery to discover the processes of the Apache, for example. Very, very nice. So we can do almost anything with the JavaScript right now. It's highly, highly efficient. And it's all built into Zabbix. We don't rely on any external libraries. You just install Zabbix server and you're done. Another nice feature, since preprocessing becomes more and more complex, now we support the testing of preprocessing from UI. You created some preprocessing steps, like JSON paths and trimmings and some JavaScript. You press a test button, test preprocessing. You enter incoming value, like JSON, sensor, and temperature 67 Fahrenheit. And then you can see how preprocessing works. Result of JSON pass, we extract temperature 67 Fahrenheit. Then we do trimming. We are not interested in F. Okay, we trim value, and then using JavaScript, we convert it to Celsius. Yeah, from UI. That's a very powerful feature. The next one is a monitoring of Prometheus agents. And why Prometheus? Prometheus is quite a nice format. It's basically agent which returns data in HTML format. Yeah, you connect you connect using HTTP or HTTPS. You get some data, and you can use this data in Zabbix. Okay, And there are a number of Prometheus agents or exporters. In Prometheus terms, it's called exporter, yeah? Exists for different databases, for some messaging systems, I know Kafka, RabbitMQ, MQTT, some other monitoring system for HTTP, and so on and so forth, yeah? That's why we decided Zabbix already support SNMP, IPMI, HTTP, well, many JMX, many different protocols. Now we support also data collection from Prometheus agents natively. That's how Prometheus format looks like. It's basically metric name, set of different tags like a volume, and then goes value. That's very simple. And there could be many tags like name, DHCP, state, continue pending, something like that. So very simple, straightforward format, which is accessible through HTTP. And now we have two preprocessing types. One is Prometheus pattern, is when we want to receive this value based on pattern, like CPU usage system, CPU is equal to CPU total. So Zabbix will select this metric. This is a Prometheus query language, PromQL. We support it now natively by Zabbix. So we specify a query in PromQL, and we get this value. But also it's possible to convert everything, like all the stuff, to JSON using Prometheus to JSON. Okay, we may convert everything to JSON and use it for low-level discovery, for getting item metrics, for some aggregation purposes, anything. Very nice. And data flow is very simple. So we have Prometheus exporters here, maybe MongoDB for monitoring of console, or probably memcached, HA proxy. They all use Prometheus exporter formats. In Zabbix, we define HTTP check, basically item of type HTTP. We retrieve this value using HTTP or HTTPS protocol. We may convert it to JSON, and then we do preprocessing, and then we use the data for metric data or for low-level discovery. Very straightforward, and it works very nice. And as you probably know, we have integration section on our website. Integration is about zabbix.com/integrations. It's about different ready-to-use solutions to monitor various applications, devices, technologies, and how Zabbix can be integrated with other systems. At this moment, we have more than 300 of integrations available, and this number is always growing. There are many things, databases, applications, and so on. And with the Prometheus-based solutions, we will add, I think, another 100 or more. Yeah, so it really extends the scope what Zabbix can monitor just out of the box. Another nice feature is that preprocessing is now supported on a proxy side, which is nice. In Zabbix 4.0, the server would do everything. It would do preprocessing, we do all this heavy stuff. But now, if you use a proxies and something is monitored by the proxy will do preprocessing. It's especially nice if you use a throttling. For example, you have some local device here, and you'd like to monitor it very frequently, like once per second. So proxy will monitor it very frequently, but only all status changes will be passed to the server. So very nice. It basically means that we are saving resources on Zabbix server side. We can scale much better with the use of proxies. Proxies plus throttling is a really powerful combination. Yeah, and Zabbix server gets processed values only. For example, proxy may collect huge data in a JSON or XML format, it will do some processing, but only values which we need will be passed to Zabbix server. Yes? Yeah. 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 So the question is about, for example, network traffic and use of throttling. I think it's not a good no. Oh yeah, it knows. No, it knows. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. So if you use preprocessing like deltas, it's done on proxy side. So this previous value is kept on proxy side as well. So it works perfectly. Yeah. No. All this previous value is kept in memory. Yeah. And yeah, so and in this case, we can scale pretty much very well using proxies. So for example, we may collect like million of values per second. Obviously, it depends what type of data we'd like to monitor. But if we monitor something that use throttling, we may collect millions of values per second. Proxies will do throttling. They will drop data we don't need, and then only maybe tens of thousands of values comes to Zabbix server. So which is nice. So and why we pay so much attention to proxy? Why we did it in Zabbix 4.2? I think the main reason is because we really want to make templates to contain kind of independence. So if you want to monitor MySQL, the template should contain all logic to monitor MySQL. You want to monitor Docker, you want to monitor, I don't know, memcached, the template should contain everything, all logic to do this job. And with this extensive use of preprocessing and with enhancements we made for preprocessing, this goal gets closer and closer and closer. And there are a number of other improvements. Please have a look at the changelog of Zabbix 4.2. Upgrade is very simple. Just install new server binaries and the front-end files, as always. You don't need to touch Zabbix agents. We make backward compatibility of Zabbix agents. And the one thing to be aware of is that raw data collected by older proxies will not be accepted by Zabbix 4.2. Okay, so we have to upgrade proxies and Zabbix server in one go. So older data will not be accepted because now we do preprocessing on proxy side. Yeah, and upgrade notes is here. Yeah, and if you want to learn more about Zabbix 4.2, read an article with an overview of the features of Zabbix 4.2 on Zabbix blog. You may also visit our webinars, and we do webinars in many different languages. And also we launched a series, Zabbix YouTube videos, which really explains very well all new features of Zabbix 4.2. Before I start talking about 4.4, maybe if you have any questions about 4.2, yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I understand there is an extension for supported Prometheus format, right?
Yeah.
I assume that you would just have your multiple call data tabs, right?
Yeah.
You tell Zabbix, okay, Zabbix, start grabbing the data from this port.
Yeah.
It tries to grab it. So it's basically.
Yeah.
My understanding is that in this kind of infrastructure, Zabbix plays the role of Prometheus itself. Like, so it's kind of
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's like just a supported format. Okay.
So, yeah, so the question is maybe Prometheus and Zabbix. Yes, so now we support natively the Prometheus exporter format. And the question is how it can play with cloud-native applications, for example.
I was wondering, so if you compare Zabbix with Prometheus, would you say that for cloud-native applications, Zabbix is Prometheus on steroids, or you could say that Zabbix...
I cannot say at this moment. Yeah, why? Because we don't deliver, at this moment at least, we don't deliver a good service level discovery. Yeah, so we don't have, for example, integration with a console, or I don't know, maybe use some other tools like, I don't know, Zookeeper, whatever, yeah? And this is our direction we are moving. And we will be there very, very soon. I think Zabbix 4.4, it's not part of the roadmap. It is part of the official roadmap, but I will not be talking about this today. But Zabbix 4.4 will come with the support of Kubernetes monitoring, just out of the box. Yeah, and this really opens unlimited possibilities. What we are doing right now, we are building a really flexible platform that can be also used and for your scenario as well. Yeah.
So your roadmap is basically to make Zabbix being Prometheus on steroids at some version, so that it could be like...
We don't look at Prometheus at all, I would say. Yeah, Prometheus is interesting for us because it has kind of the infrastructure of Prometheus exporters, and since we position ourselves as a universal solution, we can get data out of different sources now, including Prometheus, and that's it. So we look at Prometheus right now as a good data source for Zabbix. Yeah, but it's not our intention to, I don't know, to make a better Prometheus, whatever. Absolutely not. We have, I think, different philosophy. Zabbix, we are building Zabbix as a complete solution with everything built in. Data collection, alerting, visualization, escalations, problem detection, anomaly detection, and so on, and trend prediction. But I think if you build something on top of Prometheus technologies, you have to build your kind of ecosystem out of different components. And I think this is a primary difference. Yeah.
So you mean like if I want Prometheus, I can use Grafana, then
Alert manager, something else, something else, something else, yeah.
Okay. And last question about like CNCF. Is there any plans to be involved in Cloud Native Software Foundation for Zabbix project? Or
Possibly, yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Anything else? Yes.
With Zabbix Trapper,
Mm-hmm.
you have to send a JSON in specific format to be received and processed, right?
No, any format. So the question is about with Zabbix Trapper, do we need to send JSON in a specific format or not? No, we can send any JSON.
So I'm asking because today with network devices,
Okay.
we've been monitoring with the 7E all the time, right?
Yeah.
We're going towards telemetry, and telemetry can be sent as a JSON.
Yes.
So Zabbix Trapper should be able to receive that. So
Absolutely, yeah. So you receive, okay, so what you do, you create item, maybe like a master item, which receive JSON. Then you use it for discovery or for data?
I would like to use it for data reception. So specific interfaces and
Okay. So in this case, yeah, but maybe you want to discover interfaces first, yeah. Okay, yeah. So use it both for low-level discovery and also for metric data. Yeah, it will work absolutely fine, yeah. Just look at some simple examples and it really can be extended to your use case, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, then I will talk about Zabbix 4.4. I know that we don't have much time. Actually, my talk is supposed to start at 10:30. We were quite late, but I will try to go quickly for Zabbix 4.4. Main directions. We want to make Zabbix available everywhere, yeah? So on different platforms, on-premise platforms, cloud platforms, and so on. we want to deliver really unlimited data analysis and data aggregation, yeah, capabilities. Vector graphics, okay, new set of templates and baseline monitoring. Let's talk about all of this quite quickly. So available everywhere. This is where we are moving quite quickly. So now we are working closely with AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. So Zabbix images, official images, will be available very soon there. Okay. They are already available on DigitalOcean. So for example, if you use the DigitalOcean for your maybe pet projects or in your company, you may install Zabbix with a one mouse click. The official image is already there. And we continue working on Zabbix SaaS solution, which I hope will be released in summer this year. Infrastructure. In 4.2, we promised that, okay, we are migrating to Git. Zabbix has a 20 years history. We started with CVS, then we migrated to Subversion. Now it's time to migrate to Git finally, yeah? And it's already done. We made actually evaluation of a GitHub, GitLab, and also the Bitbucket. And finally, we selected the Bitbucket as our platform because it plays nicely with our existing ecosystem, which is based on Atlassian tools, which, for example, Service Desk, Jira, Confluence, and so on. That's why we have a Bitbucket, and it is already publicly available on gitzabbix.com. Okay, we made it last week, I think. So git.zabbix.com, you go there, and you can have access to Zabbix repository. Better workflow. That what was planned for Zabbix 4.2 is a guidelines, official guidelines for template creators, and the versioning for templates. And it is coming. I really want to make templates much easier to use and to maintain. Yeah. So let's give you just a quick example. So this is a very typical Zabbix template. You see one item, and it's not everything, yeah? There is more. And a trigger for this item, even more. And it has many problems, so many attributes. All attributes are mandatory. You have these numbers, some magic numbers like 0, 1. It's really hard to understand what is 0, 1, yeah? You have to consult documentation, and it's not so easy. So the idea is to simplify it, to switch to another default format. It could be JSON or YAML. It's not decided yet. And also have a very limited number of mandatory attributes. In case of item, it could be only name and key, nothing else. If we are talking about trigger, the name and expression, that's only 2 mandatory fields, nothing else. Okay? And as you can see, type is Zabbix agent. It's not 0. Yeah, who knows what is 0? Yeah, but Zabbix agent. Okay, we can clearly see it's Zabbix agent. And also expressions can be simplified a little bit, and also item and trigger of this item are very close to each other. Item and then goes triggers. In this case, now we have long list of items and then long list of triggers. It's really hard to read. Yeah, so we are on the same page here. If we do this, we can use just a simple text editor. So this is, I believe, VS Code. So we can create our templates quite easily just writing a text. So this is a JSON, and in YAML, it's even more simple. Okay? So you may compare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 lines of code, maybe 12 lines of code, comparing to hundreds, maybe even more. Yeah. So it really should be simplified, and I want to keep all Zabbix templates in a Git repository. Yeah. So if someone has some suggestions, just create a pull request or some feature request, and we'll do some modifications. Yeah. So before and after, there's a huge difference. Extreme flexibility is about a new syntax for trigger expressions, and it's about merging calculated and aggregated items. why would we need it? If we have a look at Zabbix data flow, so data collection, so at this moment Zabbix is able to collect data virtually from any data source. Yeah, so any data you can push, maybe with the only exception of binary data. We don't support now processing of images, for example, yeah? But I think it's also coming. So any data source, SQL, Prometheus, SNMP, SSH, Traps, Gemix, and so on. Actually, not so much limits here on this level. Preprocessing as well. We are not limited to preprocessing options. Now we have JavaScript. We can do whatever we want with our data. But when it comes to aggregation, we still have some limits. We have some limits on the level of aggregated metrics and calculated metrics. I will talk about these limits a little bit more. And data analysis triggers, also we have some limitations. Some quite, I would say, stupid limitations. Let me explain. For calculated and aggregated items, we have a number of feature requests coming from users. Mostly they are related to limitations we already have in Zabbix. For example, allow wildcards in aggregated items, to select items based on a wildcard, on some pattern, or maybe allow text for calculated items, and so on and so forth. So if we have a look at trigger expression, so this is a very typical trigger expression. Host, key, function, some parameters equal to something, and we may use a formula like this. Something and something. And there are some limitations. For example, we cannot calculate minimum of 2 items. It's not possible. Yeah, we use quite object-oriented approach. This is our object, host key. It's a reference to a metric, and then we apply a function, like this function, like last or minimum or average. But we cannot apply function on one metric and another metric. So minimum item 1, item 2 is not supported. Like a minimum or maximum of function is also not supported. It's not, this is a very stupid thing. It's unable to compare 2 text items. We have one text metric, another text metric, and we cannot compare if they're equal or not. It's not supported at the moment. Calculated items. Calculated items is basically a formula which is based on other items. Okay? So you make some calculation based on values from other items, like this. Minimum for 1 minute plus minimum of 1 minute of from 2 different servers. So very simple example. Also, we have some limits. It can be calculated only on schedule. We define our own schedule, like once per minute, please recalculate it. We are unable to apply functions like yesterday or last month or previous week, something like that. For example, I want to calculate average for yesterday or average for the whole day. It's impossible right now. Again, unable to calculate function, which is, and the parameter of this function and other functions. It is not supported. Aggregated items. Well, first of all, aggregated items is about group level aggregation. For example, if you want to know how much free storage space we have in our company, then we can use an aggregated item to calculate the total free disk space on all our servers, okay? Or what is the average CPU load on my cluster? We can use aggregated items for this purpose. But still, like this, group sum, servers, free disk space, last. How many free disk space we have for host group servers? Very useful feature, but many limits. Same limit, cannot recalculate when a new value received, unable to apply function for the whole period, like today, yesterday, previous hour, and so on. And no complex formulas. We cannot do a group sum plus something, divide by, it's not supported, just very simple format. And it's quite serious limitation. And what else? The syntax is different everywhere. Triggers, we use this syntax. Calculated items, we use another syntax. Aggregated items, we use a very strange syntax with the square brackets and another type of syntax. It's not good. Zabbix 4.4, I would like to come up with a unified syntax, with more kind of functional. If you know some coding, there is kind of object-oriented approach or functional programming, so it will be, I think, closer to functional programming, a little bit closer to maybe kind of JavaScript, but not exactly. So if before we had 3 different syntaxes for triggers, calculated aggregated items, I really want to see just a single syntax. Function, parameters, and you may create a formula based on those functions. And parameters could be a constant, a reference to some item, host group, some pattern, VFSFS size, everything P3. Okay, I want to have free disk space for all my volumes, and some other functions. So function from a function. Let me give you just a few examples. It's still something to be discussed. I really think that we will manage to simplify it even more. So trigger now is like this, minimum 5 minutes. Zabbix 4.4 probably will use function last. So there will be reference to metric, and then we use a minimum of the last for value for 5 minutes. I think this bracket should be here. Yeah. Okay. More complex example, for example, minimum of 2 last values. Yeah, so we may use array of values. This is just a proposal. We are still considering what kind of syntax will be at the end. The calculated items now, minimum. Zabbix 4.4, again, it will be maybe a little bit more complex. We're still thinking about it. Minimum of the last for 1 minute. Okay, I think still this bracket needs to be here. Yeah. Aggregated items. Okay, so more complex example. Yeah. So for example, the minimum for yesterday. Okay, so we take should be simplified for the minimum value for the yesterday. And aggregated items now, this is a group sum for servers, and Zabbix 4.4, maybe we will use this strange syntax, but I think we will convert it in a function like getting items based on a host group. Yeah, this is just a proposal. Yeah, but we'll see. I don't really like that there are so many functions like sum, minimum, and last. We will support also dotted notation, so we can write minimum dot sum with some parameters dot something. So it's like a pipeline of aggregation pipeline. So one notation will be supported, function of function of function, and dotted notation as well, like last dot minimum and dot sum. Yeah. So an advantages is the same syntax for triggers and calculated items for everything, and I would like to use this syntax also for graphs in UI. So when you graph something, you also would use exactly the same syntax for aggregation. Yeah, so the same syntax will be used everywhere on server side and for dashboard for graphs, for graph aggregation. Yeah, and the good advantage is there is no difference between calculated and aggregated items, so there will be only aggregated or calculated items. Yeah, that's it. Vector graphics. Okay, it's time to finally move from PNG to vector graphs. Now we did this conversion partially. We still use PNG graphs in some places of Zabbix, in many places, I would say, in Zabbix. We need to move fully to SVG graphs. And baseline monitoring. This is about it's about anomaly detection, automatic anomaly detection, so we don't have to define our own thresholds. Let me give you a very simple example. I think this is a graph from one of our web servers. This is a production Zabbix.com web servers. For example, I want to detect some anomalies. Yeah? So what should I do? Can I specify some threshold? Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. No. Because we have working days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weekend, as you can see, five spikes, and then weekend, 5 spikes, weekend. So this is a very typical, you can see it in many production systems, yeah? But I still want to detect some problems. I need to understand, well, if something goes wrong, I really want to be notified about it. And as you can see, if you look closely, you can see that probably every Sunday, yeah, weekend, every Sunday, there is a spike of activity, another spike of activity, another spike of activity, but not here. Yeah? I want to be notified about this case, because maybe it's failed cron tab job or failed synchronization of a storage, something like that. I don't know. But I really want to be informed about this anomaly. And if you look closely, again, we can see that every Wednesday, we had this amount of traffic. Okay, Wednesday, this Wednesday, and suddenly this Wednesday, okay, it's nearly twice higher traffic. Okay, I also want to be notified. What is that? Maybe this is, I don't know, DDoS attack or something else, or it's okay, because I think this is when we released one of Zabbix versions, yeah? Maybe Zabbix 4.2 beta 1 or something, yeah. It's okay, but still, I want to be notified about this point and about this point. So how can we teach Zabbix to report about these cases? We really need to find a way how to tell Zabbix that this is something normal. So this is normal, and this is normal, but this is not normal, and this is not normal. And what we are doing right now, we are finding a way to calculate a baseline for any metrics. So baseline is basically normal behavior. This is what we expect. So this is my expectation. Spike here, yeah, because of historical data. So Zabbix should learn on historical data. We have some historical data. Zabbix knows that this is expected normal behavior. And if there is a difference between a norm and what we see right now, it should report about it immediately. So that is the idea, and I believe this functionality is coming in 4.4. Another aspect, important aspect, is that the baseline depends on what day we have. This is a working day, this is a non-working day. If we have a holiday here, for example, the 1st of May or something like that, we would expect different behavior. So we should tell Zabbix, okay, we have a different types of time. This is a working day, this is non-working day, these several days of, Christmas or New Year, whatever. And then baseline, I think it should be linked to a calendar. Yeah, working days, the calendar for some holidays, or calendar for special occasions. Like, I don't know, maybe well, 1st of September for some businesses is really a special day. So we need to have a special baseline for the 1st of September. Yeah? So let's see. So this is the idea which we hope to implement in 4.4. So baseline is actually automatically adjusted normal range. So this is basically the range of value Zabbix considers to be normal based on previous historical data. And why baseline monitoring? It's easier to configure and maintain. It's automatic anomaly detection. And it's much more, of course, you can use timeshift functions right now. We support timeshift functions. But baseline monitoring is much more universal. Yeah? And comparing to some methods, artificial intelligence services, the advantage of baseline monitoring is that Zabbix can always explain why he thinks that this is a not normal behavior. Because Zabbix can always display you the baseline. So baseline, it will be a separate metric. Yeah? So you can graph a baseline, which is, I think, very, very important. Yeah? So if you have some problem, Zabbix will tell you, okay, please have a look. This is a baseline, and this is something strange, and this is something strange. Yeah, so Zabbix 4.4 roadmap is already on our website. Just go to zabbix.com/roadmap. Maybe there will be some minor modifications, but that's what we plan to implement. Zabbix 4.4 is planned to be released in September this year, so very, very soon. Zabbix 4.0 LTS, March next year. Yeah, and I really want to invite you to Zabbix Summit, our central event, since we are very, very close to Riga. As I said, I don't know how many kilometers. Maybe it's just 1,000 kilometers or something like that, maybe even less. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. This is a central event when there are many companies and many users from around the world, from North America, South America, Japan, well, Germany, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Australia, all meet together and discuss various issues. And if you want, you may be a speaker. Yeah, so I think the call for paper is accepted till, well, June 1st. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you.